everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for Leo rising, otherwise known as the Ascendant. And the difference between the Sun and the Ascendant is the Sun is more of your core personality, your philosophical framework, that essence of who you are in this lifetime. And the rising sign is more of the image that you project. And I have previously mentioned the theory that I have that this is connected to the family of origin, that you adopted the traits of the rising sign in order to conform more to their requirements. And depending upon your sun sign and maybe even your moon sign, you can see whether there's integration or not, or whether there's a deep conflict. If your sun sign is quite different than your rising sign, you may be kind of like an outcast in your family, the black sheep, where you're different from the rest of them, you're misunderstood. An example of this disconnect between sun and rising sign would be if your sun sign is in Scorpio and your rising sign is Leo. Now, forget the fact that they're both fixed signs and they might form a square, which is a challenging aspect. Just look at it in terms of what they represent. And there is that sense of emotional, a passionate or emotional nature that they both have. And they both have their own kind of confidence. But the sun sign in Scorpio is much more self-contained. And it doesn't necessarily lay out all its cards on the table. But the rising sign with Leo is very warm, is very open, and it's going to be a lot more extroverted in a natural way. So you could see somebody with this combination who is like the life of the party. They're very warm, but if you get to know them better, you see that other side of them that is actually quite solitary and maybe even very secretive and not as positive as you thought they were. When I say positive, I mean this belief that everyone has the best intentions. It's a form of generosity, actually, which is what Leo is associated with. And it's generosity of spirit, where you believe the best in others, and yet Scorpio can be very, very suspicious of other people. And actually, I would say all the water signs can be very cautious with money. So the person may put on a good show of like they're free spending, they're very warm, they're very accessible, but in fact, they may have these more hidden traits that you never really discover unless you get behind the facade of what they're about. So, and that can be a very strong facade to have Leo, because Leo is all about being on stage. A person who has Leo rising can be a natural performer, and they may be a complete ham from the time they're old enough to walk and talk, where they just want attention. And especially when it comes to entertaining people, they may do that in many different ways. And so if you're a parent of somebody with Leo rising, you want to provide them with opportunities to express their creativity and their natural showmanship qualities. But this is a sign that is very interested in seeking attention in general, whether they are a performer or not. And they're very dramatic. And so drama is the name of the game for them. They may dress in attention-getting styles, including I was thinking that a Vegas showgirl is probably the best way of putting it. I wonder if Dolly Parton has Leo rising. I should check that out, because that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where they wear a lot of sparkly stuff, a lot of glitter, a lot of, gold lame. Gold is a big thing for them, maybe gold jewelry, because gold confers status. And, I'm the cream of the crop. I'm in the, on the A list. That's kind of like the mentality. And remember, we're talking about image here. So we're talking about somebody who has a very strong desire to portray themselves in a certain way, regardless of what the truth is. And this is kind of like a Hollywood attitude anyway. It's all about image. I would say, I was talking about the other signs, and I was saying that in general, after that first Saturn return around the age of 30, the person may find that the influence of the rising sign is greatly lessened, or lessened to some degree. I might reserve that attitude when it comes to Leo, because the image is so important to Leo rising that they may never really get over that need. Now, if we scratch the surface of the rising sign and the possible connection to the family of origin, look also to your moon sign, because that can indicate what the mother was like. And if you have a moon in Capricorn or a moon in Leo as well, you may have had a mother who was something of a stage mother, who pushed you to be that performer or to be on stage, to have this image. Sometimes this can be, you can be like the golden child of somebody who's a narcissist, who wants you to revolve around their needs. And interestingly, in those cases, the golden child, the child that is showered all the attention and respect by the parent, they can grow up to be narcissists sometimes. So this would be that shadow aspect of Leo, which is associated with narcissism. Now, why is that? Well, I would say that those children are being used by the parent for them to have this constant satellite. If you are praising somebody all the time, you pretty well ensure their loyalty to you, but you're not really fulfilling their needs. It's all for you. So with Leo rising, there may have been a situation where I always see the two extremes. Either you were the golden child, you were the it child, that if you had siblings, they may have felt that you got the best of everything and they may be resentful of you or were when they were younger. Or you were lost in the shuffle, especially if you come from a large family, or if you were the youngest child and there was a gap between you and the other children. And so you were kind of like overlooked, or maybe in the middle, like Jan Brady, the Jan Brady syndrome. So, it can play out in different ways. And that attention seeking can be that result of having experienced that growing up. So all people with Leo rising, you are naturally going to be a leader and talented and confident. So I would never say stop being those things. But to look at any tendencies that you have to try to suck the oxygen out of a room in an over-the-top way, of not granting other people their they're not looking at their accomplishments and just kind of focusing on your own. And also, and giving them attention too, not being the diva, not being the center of attention all the time, which Leo is ruled by the sun. And since this is your rising sign, you are ruled by the sun. So it's natural for you to feel that everything revolves around you, but you have to see it for what it's worth and realize it's just a projection, an ego projection that you're placing onto, towards others so that you can influence people about you in that way. But looking at the beautiful qualities, the generosity, the warmth, the true kid at heart that you have. You know, you embrace your inner child, probably will never let go of it. You may have had a very happy childhood where you felt like you could really express yourself and do all the things you wanted to do. Now, if you didn't have one, you still may have retained that inner child in some way. You know, you never gave up hope that good days were ahead. You know, so there's a lot of positivity with this rising sign, and that can be infectious. And other people can be inspired by your positivity. So keeping those light qualities front and center are really awesome. And speaking of light, I had done a similar video for Aries. You may have a red skin tone. You may even have freckles, and you may have red hair. And I was thinking of Lucille Ball, who was a sun in Leo. And I don't know what her rising sign is. I should find out if it's either Leo or Aries. But I was thinking about her earlier today, thinking about these qualities and how she hennaed, you know, she put henna in her hair. Henna, natural henna, is always red. And I don't know, I think her natural hair color was blonde, but we always associate her with red hair. She had a Leo sun sign. So sometimes the sun sign, you can see certain physical attributes, but it's not, see, that's the thing though. She dyed her hair, so that was not natural to her. So that would be aspirational, and that would be more associated with the sun sign. And so the rising sign can be sometimes more of the innate qualities that you come into this world with, including the body type. With Leo, and I have found this to be true of all fire sign women, is they may not have an hourglass figure. They may be more straight up and down. It's very interesting because, I mean, I am kind of that way, and I am Sagittarius sun sign, but right now we're talking about the rising sign, but just these particular signs themselves, there can be a very thick head of hair, and this is your mane, and you may even accentuate it. Like, so regardless of what you're born with your hair, you may get a perm to make it even bigger. You may, let's say you're balding, you may decide to just completely shave your head because you'd rather give the impression that, you're just like following a fad rather than have lost your hair, because that's your mane, like the lion. Okay. And the other thing too is, as I said, your clothing may be very colorful. Some might even call it gaudy if it's taken to the extreme of extremely bright colors, a lot of jewelry, maybe a lot of gold jewelry, velvet, like very, very sensual materials that seem very fancy, luxurious, that sort of thing, that confer a sense of status, that kind of thing. That's why I think I said gold lame earlier, but things like that. And in terms of your attitudes, what you want to do is you want to watch out for arrogance and having that nature which is overbearing and quite domineering, like I am the diva. And the reason, and having a temper, all fire signs, the rising sign can have this tempestuous nature, where you're easily set off. And people will see you as a hothead, as kind of irascible, that you're given to temper tantrums, and you don't want that because you do, and being prideful, that kind of thing, being vain, And by the way, vanity can lead to you being gullible, where people can sense that you have this weak spot for flattery, and they can suck up to you and take you for a ride. So just remember that. The thing is that you are an exceptional person. So you may feel like, hey, I'm great. There's there's a saying that they always have on mugs. Oh yeah, it's hard to be humble when you're as great as I am. That could be the Leo's mantra, right? But you still have to have humility in life, and not false humility, but really being grateful for the gifts that you've been given. And because you're fixed sign at the Ascendant, you may have really good recuperation, and you may not get sick very much, but you may be able to just work. A lot of Leos in general are workaholics, so you have to kind of watch yourself, but you have the ability to work quite vigorously. And in general, though, you are very confident. Now, if you have a sun sign like Virgo or Cancer or Pisces, you may be kind of a paper tiger, where you act like, kind of the cowardly lion. You have that facade, that bravado, but it doesn't take much to poke a hole through it, and you're like kind of quivering mass of insecurities. And so, again, the image is something that we have to integrate. We have to make sure that we're not living out this fake version of ourselves. And we have to take the best of those influences that may have occurred early on and, come up with this beautiful presentation of ourselves that is both authentic as well as very positive in nature. And I feel that you have the ability to do this, because I feel like you are a genuine person beneath all the bluster and the drama, that you are really, and that's what makes you connect so well to others, is your accessibility and your warmth. Okay, Leo Rising, I hope you enjoyed this. And if you'd like a natal chart interpretation or another type of reading that I offer, please click the link below. Otherwise, have a wonderful time being that amazing natural show person that you are. Take care. Bye.